$100 million criminal fine. A botulism recall across 26 states. A man cooked alive inside a tuna oven. Not history. Not rumors. The brand's in your pantry right now. Here's the part that should scare you more. The tuna marketed as the healthy upgrade. The expensive white can often carries more mercury than the cheap one. You've been paying extra to get more of the thing you were trying to avoid. 3 foreign-owned giants control this entire aisle. They fixed your prices for years and got caught. And the tricks they use on the label are still working on you today. 10 brands, only 5 are real tuna. 10 seconds is all you'll need to tell the difference, once you know what they're hiding. Let's open the first can. Number 10. Great value. Walmart. Picture a mom in a Walmart aisle. 2 kids in the cart, 40 things on the list. 11 seconds in front of the tuna shelf. She grabs the blue can, cheapest one, same as always, and moves on. That 11 seconds is exactly what this can is designed for, because if she'd flipped it over, she'd have found passengers. A can of tuna should be boring to read. Tuna, water, salt, done. But budget cans often add vegetable broth, soy, sometimes pyrophosphate, an additive that helps the fish hold moisture and look firmer than it is. And here's the first wait what of this investigation. Chunk light isn't a grade of fish, it's a shape. It means small broken pieces, usually from a smaller fish called skipjack, often the flakes and trimmings, packed together and topped off with liquid. Now the part that should genuinely bother her, and you. That cheap Walmart can frequently rolls off the same production lines from the same giant processors as brands costing twice as much. Store brands don't own fishing fleets, they rent someone else's. So if the cheap can and the premium can are basically the same fish, what exactly is the premium buying? Hold that question. I promised you a mercury twist at the start. This is where it begins. Number 9. Market Pantry, Target. Now come inside the factory, because there's a step in making this tuna that never appears on any label. Steam hissing off racks of whole fish. Machines stripping meat from bone at industrial speed. The meat pressed into cans, sealed, and then cooked again, a second time, at high heat to sterilize it. Most mass-market tuna is cooked twice, and every cook takes something. The natural oils, the omega-3s, the flavor. It literally drains out on the factory floor. So what do they do about the empty space? They fill it back up, with water, or broth, or oil. Here's the line to remember. The liquid in the can isn't a bonus. A lot of the time, it's a refund for what the factory took. That's why so many cans open up looking like a wet, pale skirt of flakes instead of a piece of fish. Real tuna looks like tuna, a solid steak you can see the grain in. Heavily processed tuna looks like it's already been chewed. You haven't even tasted it, and the can already told you everything. But the processing is only half the story. Where the fish comes from is darker. Number 8. Kroger. Play detective for a second. Pick up a Kroger store brand can, America's biggest supermarket chain, millions of pantries, and try to answer one question. Where was this fish caught? You can't. You'll find something vague like, product of multiple countries. Understand this. A can that won't tell you where it's from is telling you something. It's a supply chain built so no single can can be traced. And the way the fish is caught matters more than almost anything else about it. Here's the term that should change how you shop. FAD. Fish Aggregating Device. Boats drop floating objects in the ocean, fish gather underneath, and a giant net scoops up everything. Brutally efficient. Completely blind. It takes whatever else is down there too. Now the words you want to see. Pole and line. Troll, hand line, one by one. Those mean the fish were caught one at a time, near the surface. Why should you care beyond the ocean? Because one-at-a-time methods catch younger, smaller fish, and younger, smaller fish carry less mercury. That's the second piece of the mercury puzzle from the intro. The size of the fish decides the poison in the can. Keep building that thought. The next can adds things that have nothing to do with fish at all. And for one family in this story, that's not a detail. It's an emergency. Number 7. Van Camp's picture a different shopper now. A dad whose son has a soy allergy. He's trained himself to scan every label for one word before anything goes in the cart. Tuna should be the easy aisle. It's fish. Why would there be soy in fish? Flip a can of Van Camp's, one of the oldest budget names on the shelf, And read closely. Vegetable broth. And vegetable broth, very often, contains soy, an allergen, hiding inside a two-word ingredient most people skim right past. That's the additive toolbox at work. When fish loses its flavor in double cooking, someone has to put flavor back. So in goes salt, sometimes hundreds of milligrams per serving, invisible unless you check. In goes broth, sometimes flavor ingredients under names you won't recognize. Here's the tell, and it works on any food in the store. Good fish already tastes like something. The longer the ingredient list, the more they had to rescue the flavor after the fact. Added flavor is a confession. It's the can quietly admitting the fish inside wasn't good enough on its own. One more thing before we move on. Remember this brand's owner, a giant global tuna conglomerate, because that same company is behind the 26-state recall I promised you at the start. Here it comes. Number 6. Genova, February 7, 2025. A recall notice goes up on the FDA's website, and the key word on it is one nobody wants near their food: botulism. Genova is the premium can. Olive oil. Italian-sounding name. Sold at Costco and nice grocery stores. It feels like the upgrade. Then the notice. Genova and several store brands. All made by the same supplier, Tri-Union Seafoods. Pulled because a defect in the easy-open pull tab lid could let the seal fail. A failed seal can allow Clostridium botulinum, botulism, rare, potentially fatal, and it gives you nothing to detect. No smell, no taste, no warning. Those cans had already shipped to Costco, Walmart, Kroger, Trader Joe's, and more, across 26 states. And now the wait what moment. 11 months later, January 2026, the recall had to be expanded. Why? Some of the recalled tuna was mistakenly shipped out again. The recall itself got recalled. Sit with the scariest detail one more time. Nobody could smell it. Looks fine and smells fine mean nothing when the seal is the problem. And since we're holding the fancy can, the oil question. Oil pack tastes richer, but some of the fish's natural omega-3s dissolve into that oil. Drain it down the sink, and part of the health benefit goes with it. Oil isn't automatically the upgrade. It's a trade. A premium label protected no one from that recall. So what do the feel-good labels actually promise? A courtroom answered that one. Number 5. Chicken of the Sea. A federal lawsuit lands, and the thing on trial is a tiny badge you've seen 1,000 times. Dolphin safe. It sounds like a guarantee. It sounds like someone checked. Most shoppers see it and stop asking questions, which is precisely the job it does. U.S. consumers sued the 3 biggest tuna brands, including Chicken of the Sea, arguing those dolphin-safe claims didn't mean what people assumed they meant. And here's what most people miss, lawsuit or not. Dolphin-safe only ever referred to dolphins. It never promised anything about turtles, sharks, or the dozens of other creatures scooped up in those big nets. A label can be technically true and still let you imagine something far cleaner than reality. That's what a conscience badge does. It answers a question you didn't ask, so you stop asking the ones that matter. Fitting for this brand. The name itself is the industry's original marketing move. A century ago, this pale, mild fish was pitched to America as the chicken of the sea. The name was never a description. It was a costume. Real sustainability isn't a stamp. It's a fishing method printed on the can. Pole, line, troll, hand line. If a brand truly fishes clean, it brags about how. If all it has is a feel-good badge, ask why that's all it has. Now, remember those 3 foreign-owned giants from the intro? Chicken of the Sea is the first, owned by a Thai conglomerate. Time to meet the second. He has a famous face. Number 4. Star-kissed. For 60 years, a cartoon fish named Charlie begged America to can him. Charmed, funny, self-deprecating. One of the most beloved mascots in advertising history. Here's the truth about Charlie. His job was never to sell you tuna. His job was to stop you asking questions. Because while Charlie was winning your family's love, the company behind him was doing something else entirely. Star-kissed, Bumblebee, and Chicken of the Sea, the big 3 that dominate American tuna, got caught running a price-fixing scheme. The U.S. Department of Justice found they had conspired to keep canned tuna prices artificially high, for years, against their own customers, against you. This is the $100 million fine from the opening. StarKist took a criminal fine of $100 million, the maximum the law allowed. Bumblebee pleaded guilty and paid too. Executives faced prosecution. Every can your family bought in those years cost more than it should have. Charlie never mentioned that. He also never mentioned that StarKist is giant number 2, owned by a South Korean conglomerate. Those all-American pantry brands you grew up with, the profits sail a long way from home. The more a brand spends making you feel something, the more worth asking what they'd rather you didn't feel. And how did this whole scheme finally unravel? 2 of the conspirators got greedy and tried to become one company. That story is next. Number 3. Cloverleaf, Chicken of the Sea's Thai owner announces it's buying Bumblebee for $1.5 billion. 2 of the 3 tuna giants, about to become one. The Department of Justice stepped in and killed the deal, and its reasoning should stop you cold. Regulators concluded the canned tuna market already wasn't functioning competitively. Their message, in plain terms, consumers are better off without this merger, and the companies should have known it from the start. Investigating that merger is what helped blow the price-fixing scandal wide open. The giants got caught because they tried to get bigger, which brings us to Cloverleaf, a brand you may have never bought, and that's exactly the point. Cloverleaf is a huge tuna name in Canada. Different label, different logo, different flag. Looks like a proud, separate company. It's the northern face of the same giant behind Bumblebee. Same fish, different costume, different country. Now zoom out, because this is the trick that ties the entire aisle together. All those different brands, premium, budget, store, foreign sounding, trace back to a handful of owners. A brand for people who want cheap. A brand for people who want fancy. A brand for people who want sustainable. Frequently the same parent, sorted into costumes. The wall of options is designed to make you feel like you're choosing. Often you're choosing between the left pocket and the right pocket of the same coat. A coat regulators already said fits too tight around the whole market. Names are masks, species, method, ingredients. Those can't wear one. 2 spots left. And this is where I keep the darkest promise from the intro. Number 2. Bumblebee. At the start, I told you a man was cooked alive inside a tuna oven. This is that company. And his name deserves saying properly. Jose Milena. October 2012. A Bumblebee plant in California. Jose is 62 years old, 6 years on the job. Part of his work involves the massive 35-foot ovens used to sterilize cans of tuna. He's inside one when his co-workers, who have no idea, load it with tons of tuna, seal the door, and turn it on. The temperature climbs to roughly 270 degrees. He doesn't make it out. Prosecutors charge the company and 2 managers with willfully violating worker safety rules. Bumblebee paid a $6 million settlement, reported as the largest of its kind in California, for a single workplace safety death. Part of that money bought new ovens designed so no person could ever be trapped inside again. Part went to Jose's family. There's a corporate coda too. Bumblebee later drowned in debt, partly from the price-fixing scandal, filed for bankruptcy, and was bought by a Taiwanese tuna supply giant. That's the 3rd foreign owner from the intro. The all-American bee, foreign-owned, born out of a legal collapse. But keep your eyes on the human part. Every step of the machine we've described, the speed, the scale, the relentless push to make it cheaper, has a cost. Sometimes it's omega-3s draining onto a factory floor. Sometimes it's a badge that means less than it sounds. And sometimes it's a man who went to work and never came home. 1 spot left. And it's the trap I opened this video with. The one you've been paying extra to fall into. Number 1. The premium albacore trap. Solid white, any label. Time to cash the biggest promise from the intro. The healthy-looking can with more mercury inside. Walk the aisle and the hierarchy seems obvious. Chunk light is the cheap stuff. Solid white albacore. Firm, pale, premium-priced, stamped with excellent source of protein, and omega-3 is the upgrade. Health-conscious shoppers pay extra for it on purpose. Now connect the dots we've been laying down all video. At number 8, you learned that bigger, older fish carry more mercury. Here's the payoff. Albacore is the bigger, older fish. The FDA itself rates smaller, light tuna as the better everyday choice for mercury, better than the white albacore that costs more. Read that again. The government's own guidance points at the cheaper can. So the health halo sold you the exact opposite of what it promised. You didn't pay extra for safer fish. You paid extra for a firmer texture and a whiter color, with a bigger mercury number riding along. And it stacks with everything else. Big brand albacore is typically caught by longline, big hooks, big fish, the oldest and largest of the species. Then it's double cooked like everything else on this list. The premium can is often just the industrial can with better lighting. This isn't one brand's crime. It's the whole aisle's favorite trick, which is why it takes the #1 spot. Every giant we've covered sells a solid white premium line and prices it like a health food. That was the whole investigation. The problem was never one tuna. It's a system built so you trust the front of the can and never turn it around. So how do you buy tuna you can actually count on? Here are the 5 that earn it, each with a story, not just a feature list. The 5 worth buying. Number 5, Kirkland's Signature Solid White Albacore, Costco. We start with a confession. This is albacore, and we just made albacore the #1 trap. So why is it here? Because real life exists. Families buy in bulk, budgets are tight, and if albacore is coming home anyway, this is the version that holds up. A genuine solid steak, a short ingredient list, and, rare for a warehouse brand, traceability. Costco maintains information that lets you actually look up what's in your can, which is more than most of the avoid list will ever offer. The catch, said out loud, it's typically longline caught, so it carries albacore's higher mercury. Make it your sometimes tuna, not your daily one, especially for kids. Not perfect. Honest value, eyes open. Number 4, Whole Foods 365. Here's a small piece of grocery history most shoppers never heard. In 2017, Whole Foods became the first major U.S. retailer to commit to selling only responsibly caught canned tuna. Pole and line, hand line, or troll. Every can. That decision is why its 365 house brand earns a spot on a list where store brands mostly failed. The cans print the species and the catch method right on the label. The exact information every brand on the avoid list hides. Offered voluntarily. It's also one of the lowest sodium options on the shelf. The proof was never the name on the front. It's what a brand is willing to state on the back. This one states everything. Number 3, American Tuna. This brand exists because a handful of West Coast pole and line fishing families looked at the industrial tuna machine and decided to opt out of it entirely. They own the company. The fish is caught one at a time, by pole and line, the old way. It's canned in the USA, and it's independently tested to keep mercury well below the safety limit. Remember the anonymous supply chain, product of multiple countries, no names, no trail? This is the exact opposite. When a company can name its boats, a problem can be traced and fixed at the source, instead of vanishing into a global chain where no one's sure where anything started. It costs more. You're paying for the one thing the giants can't sell you. Real names attached to real fish. Number 2, Safe Catch. This company started with a son watching his mother get sick. Safe Catch's founder says his mother developed mercury poisoning from eating tuna daily, and he set out to build the thing that would have protected her, a way to test every single fish before it's canned. That's still the company's core claim, and it's the sharpest one in the aisle, not a batch average. Every individual tuna, tested for mercury. Their elite line is held to a limit around 10 times stricter than the FDA's action level. And fish that fail simply aren't bought. No fillers, no broth, no double cooking. Hand-packed steaks, slow cooked once, so the omega-3s stay in the can. If mercury is your worry, kids, pregnancy, or you just eat a lot of tuna, this is the direct answer to the trap at number 1. A claim that's specific, measurable, and checkable. That's what a real promise looks like. Number 1, Wild Planet. Almost every trick we tore apart in this video answers to nobody. This brand wins because it was built as the answer to all of them. Here's the detail that says everything. Wild Planet doesn't just fish pole and line, it deliberately selects young fish, because it knows exactly what you now know. The younger and smaller the tuna, the lower the mercury. The company's own testing shows its tuna averaging several times below the FDA's action limit. The processing trap? The fish is cooked once right in the can, so the omega-3 oils stay in the fish. Nothing added. No water, no oil, no fillers, nothing to pour off. Open it and you see a solid piece of fish, not a wet flake. The halo trap? No vague badges doing the talking. The fishing method is the claim, printed on the label, and it regularly puts this brand at the top of independent sustainability rankings. The downside is simple: price. Fish caught one at a time costs more than fish netted by the ton and cooked twice. But after everything we've seen, a can with nothing to hide is worth more than any premium label. The real lesson. At the start, I promised you'd be able to tell real tuna from the rest in 10 seconds. Here it is. Not the price. We watch cheap cans and expensive cans roll off the same lines. Not the fancy words, premium, solid white, even dolphin safe. You now know exactly how little each one can mean. Not the reputation. The most trusted names in the aisle fixed prices, recalled cans by the ton, and hid behind mascots while doing it. Just 3 lines on the back of the can. 1. Species and cut, solid or steak, beats chunk or flaked. And know your fish. Light/skipjack is the lower mercury everyday choice. White albacore is the higher mercury sometimes choice, no matter what the price tag implies. 2. Catch method. Pole and line, troll, hand line, 1 by 1. If it's printed, good sign. If the can says nothing about how the fish was caught, remember, a can that won't tell you where it's from is telling you something. 3. The ingredient list. It should read like a sentence a child could finish. Tuna, water or oil, salt. The moment you see broth, soy, or words you can't pronounce, you're holding engineered fish. Species, method, ingredients. Flip, read, decide. 10 seconds, exactly as promised. Because the front of the can was written by people who want to win you. The back of the can is where the truth quietly lives. So the real question was never which tuna is the fanciest. It's this: which can is honest enough to tell you what it really is? If this changed the way you'll shop, subscribe. The next aisle we're investigating hides even more than this one.